So I'm thinking that from the last year that I heard on Rabbi Mimran, part 5, he was talking about the loss of paradise. The loss of paradise because Adam and Eve, the first people, got involved in their own physicality and we wound up physical. And that meant that we would die. And then time became important. And since the food was not immediately available to us, we had to fight for food. You see the war still going on the same way. This is really basically food fights. Whose territory produces this and so on and so forth. What I need is over there, like that. There's much more to it. So the question is, we're here now. What is the light of consciousness about? So he quotes this phrase as, Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am Hashem your God. Haschar Hamiti, the real true reward in this world, who Hadvekus be, is to be able to cling to me. V'hano meziva shchina hashkinasi, and all the pleasure that you get out of the world will all come as a result of your dvekus, your clinging to me, and the radiance of my Shekhinah. So this is a Rav David Yitzchak Abarbanel, once again. He says, since I am your God, the true reward is the attachment to me, and to bask in the rays of my holy essence. Now I'm thinking that as I'm going through this, that this is also dealing with eternity. We have lost eternity, and now what do we do? So how can we escape the devastating clutches of the emotional ego? The ego of desire. It shows up everywhere and it seems to be overwhelmingly powerful. The good news that is if we respond to it appropriately, the emotional ego is not powerful at all. As it has no power of its own, it can be likened to a dark shadow cast by the ego, a shadow that will disappear as soon as light is shined upon it. Indeed, it fears the light of your consciousness. It is afraid of being found out. The emotional ego can survive only so long as you unconsciously identify with it, and only if you harbor an unconscious fear of facing the pain that lives within you. Therefore, if you don't confront your own pain, if you don't bring the light of your consciousness into it, you'll be forced to relive that pain over and over again. The emotional ego may masquerade as a dangerous monster so that you will do anything to avoid looking at it, but in truth, it's nothing more than an insubstantial phantom, a shadow that can never prevail against the power of the presence of your own soul. Now, let's go through this phrase again. He says the emotional ego, I got to take care of myself, get what I want, may masquerade as a dangerous monster so that you will do anything to avoid looking at it, try to shut it out. But in truth, it's nothing more than an insubstantial phantom. It's a feeling, feelings change. A shadow that can never prevail against the power of the presence of your own soul, which is attached to eternity. Now, we do live in this world, and it's a hard world. And this is what we need to be able to move ourselves to think this way. Trying to ignore our pain and telling ourselves that pain is just an illusion will no way free us from the pain. What can free us is our effort to recognize the truth and bring that truth into our own experience. This is why the emotional ego doesn't want us to observe it directly and see it for what it is. As soon as we observe it, feel its energy within us, and bring our attention to it, at that very moment we break our identification with it and we allow a higher dimension of consciousness to enter our lives. And this is a difficult idea for me. I have to be able to look at my hates. look at my passions. This concept of looking at yourself is a big one, I think, in Rabbi Memra, to learn to look at yourself. Once you become the observer, the witness of the emotional ego, it can no longer use you by pretending that it's you. Now understand that he says that in other places, the thinking here is that the word I refers to as one universal I, and that is really a name of God, Ani. But you can change that word around to different ways. Ani could be the emotional ego, I. But it could also be changed the words of Ani, which is Aleph, Nun, and Yud in Hebrew, to Aleph, Yud, Nun, which means I and nothing. That place is the place of quiet. That place is the place of connectedness, where we're able to look at what our body needs, but look at it and think about that. So he says, once you become the observer and the witness of the emotional ego, it can no longer use you by pretending to be you. Most importantly, it can no longer replenish itself by feeding on the negativity that's within you. It is then that you find your own inner strength. You have accessed the power of soul. So this is what he wants us to be able to do. And I don't think he's kidding that this is something that you could do and then it's done. That is, you can learn to look at yourself, but it is that you find yourselves in emotional situations, in threatening situations. And you always have to be able to look at yourself. And you can forget to look at yourself, but then you can come back and try it again. Try to look at yourself and see what you're doing and trying to accomplish. So he says the blurb at the end. What can free us is our effort to recognize the truth and bring that truth into our own experience. Now, the truth is what? The truth of how we are flawed and how our perceptions are stained by the emotional ego, so to speak. To be able to see that's who we are. Now look at it. This is Baruch Fleischman. I'm at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel.